Chapter 18. Late that afternoon, I went back to my mother's house. I couldn't decide what to say until I got there, but I was as nervous as if I was visiting Hannibal Lecter instead of my own mostly sweet mother. I walked back in the door without knocking and called to her. "Living room," she yelled. "Come on in." Mom was reclining in an easy chair, reading. She looked up. "Sit, I want to talk to you." She set the book aside, and I saw it was a biography of Oscar Wilde by Richard Ellman, a book I had loaned her. Her command to sit took me off guard, but my mother was always doing that to me. I'm terrified to tell her the truth, and just as terrified to lie. The thought occurred that she should be doing the suspect interviews. If they lied, my mom would know. "Did you come in here and take that gold belt buckle off my window shelf?" I could feel myself flushing. "Yes, Mom, I came to leave the bread and saw it." "What did you do with it?" "I put it with my things, like you wanted." "Good. I was afraid you'd thrown it away." "Did you want it, Mom, to remember Kevin by?" "No, Missy, I don't need it for that. I just didn't want you to do something you'd regret later. I don't need a belt buckle to remember him. Besides, bull riding skill was the least of the important things about Kevin." My eyes filled with tears. She had that right. An Oscar Wilde quote came to mind. "I sometimes think God, in creating man, somewhat overestimated his ability." In creating Kevin, God had outdone himself. "Still," she said, "he would have been proud of that buckle." "I know, Mom. That's why I'm keeping it." "How are you doing, sweetheart?" "Not so great, most days." "It'll get better with time. I hope you're not drinking too much. That isn't going to help at all, and it's bad for your health." "Mom, I came here to ask you a few questions." "Answer me about the drinking first." "I'm trying to quit. I see that it doesn't help, except temporarily. I wake up muddled and still heartbroken, so I'm not going to do it anymore." "If you have trouble with that, talk to your father. He gave it up, you know." "Yes, I know. I'll talk to him." "What did you want to ask me?" "It's about Norma's murder." "Get to the point," she said in her exasperating way. "Did you do it?" Her hand went to her heart. "Why would you ask me something like that?" "Just answer the question with a simple yes or no." "I already told Barney no." "Now I'm the one asking you, Mom." "I didn't murder her," she said softly. "When was the last time you were in her house?" "Margarita? I told Barney all this." "I'm asking you, as your daughter, when was the last time you were in her house?" "It's been over a year." "I don't think that's true, Mom. I'd like to know the truth, please." She picked up the book, as if putting it between us sheltered her from an attack. "What makes you think it's not true?" "I swept up one of your earrings, one of the gold hoops with little hearts." I waited to see how that would hit her, not feeling good about hitting her with anything. "Well, I must have left it there before," she said. "I haven't been there in a long time." I wasn't going to call my mother a liar, but I didn't believe her. If she'd lost it long ago, the twin would not have been sitting on her dresser. Why would she still have it? A sickening dread washed over me. The thing that made me feel sure she was lying was that she hadn't looked me in the eyes. That wasn't like my mother. I went by the post office, picked up the mail without looking at it, and went home feeling depressed and badly in need of a drink. I felt momentarily afraid to go in my house because of the long necks in the fridge. Instead of monsters in the closet, I had them in my refrigerator. I sat in the rocker to study Cimarron Mountain and talked myself out of starting on the beer. Once started, I wouldn't stop. Then I wouldn't run. I'd be disappointed in myself. Guilt would set in. Sooner or later, Sheriff Ben would fire me. I'd feel physically awful tomorrow. My mental list of reasons not to drink began to grow, while some other part of me got on its knees and begged me just to go ahead and do it. Flipping through my mail, I noticed a handwritten envelope stuck in with the bills and junk. It was a love letter from Jimmy Joe Blanks. I hadn't received anything so gushy since a boy left a letter in my locker in 9th grade. Jimmy Joe's letter had the same feel to it, but the locker letter had been left by a 14-year-old. Jimmy Joe was at least 30. It was sad and frightening. I made myself change into running clothes. When I went into my bedroom, I had the feeling someone had been there, looking through my things. I couldn't say what had been moved or why I thought that, except for the pillow. I had left it covered with the comforter when I made the bed, but it was now sitting on top of it. When I sat, I noticed the top dresser drawer was slightly open, but maybe I'd left it like that. I chided myself for not locking the doors. If I could remember to lock them, I would know if someone had been in my house. But then an intruder would have to damage the door or the windows to get in, and I would have to remember to take the key. The things I owned of value were sentimental, things nobody else would want. So why would anyone come into my house? I lay back on the bed and vaguely remembered the late night intruder, but wasn't 100% sure that had happened. I'd been drunk and sick, so maybe what I'd perceived as threatening darkness had only been darkness, and I had imagined the threatening part. Okay, I yelled at myself in my head, just shut up and go run. Incredibly, I rose from the bed, slammed out the front door, and began to do it. That evening, I ran all the way to the mountain and collapsed at its base, between a couple of 18-wheeler-sized boulders. I writhed on the ground, crying and screaming. I cursed a God that would take away a perfectly good man for no apparent reason. I cursed a bull that would dare put its foot on my husband when he was down. I even cursed a cowboy who just couldn't stay away from riding those bulls. What kind of idiot wants to ride on the back of a maniacal bull? I yelled until I was hoarse, sobbed until I had hiccups, and eventually exhausted myself. I lay on my back and looked at the red-tinged sky with the mountain looming over me. A purple-pink cotton candy cloud appeared out of nowhere and hung near the summit, as if to shelter it. Maybe it showed up because my out-of-control wailing fit. The mountain had survived volcanic upheavals, an ice age, the shifting of the earth, the dawn of man, and violent thunderstorms, only to call a friend at the last minute, frightened. I laughed at that, sat up, wiped my face on my shirt. Then I ran home, ate a healthy dinner, showered, and went to bed. I had survived 24 hours without drinking. It was amazing.